This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Jenna Wasonko. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. Members of the Inter-Party Committee paid a courtesy visit on Tuesday to President Barrow, who is also the Secretary General of the National People's Party. Today, the 23rd of August, is the annual day for the remembrance of the slave trade and its abolition. A $25 million fisheries climate resilience project was launched on Tuesday by the FAO country representative Mushibudi Rampidi. Officials and researchers working on the MOPSI Comprehensive Health Education Program held a day-long health report dissemination session with its members and journalists alike. And on international news, Tuesday was the International Day to remember victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief, which is observed annually on the 22nd of August. Now, those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I'm Jenna Wasonko. Now, members of the Inter-Party Committee paid a courtesy visit on Tuesday to President Adama Barrow, who is also the Secretary General of the National People's Party. As Alusise reports, the President was delighted to receive the delegation and pledged $500,000 to support the activities of the committee.
To the President and party leader of the governing National People's Party, is part of the Intercommittee's ongoing dialogue with all political party leaders to discuss the committee's activities and challenges they face. Honorable Sekuba, co-chair of the Inter-Party Committee, called on all parties to embrace the committee as their child and thanked President Barrow for granting them an audience.
In fact, the President, we said all political parties should take ownership and at least try to contribute something for the Inter-Party so that we can have some of our activities being implemented. And the President take it upon himself as the party leader, not stopping as a party leader, also the President of this country, and trying to also nurture the democracy and the tolerance. He pledges $500,000 to support the activity of the Inter-Party so that at least we can achieve some of our aims and objectives, and through them as political parties who establish this IPC.
CDSK Njai, Deputy Spokesperson of the National People's Party and a member of the committee, said the President was pleased to receive the members of the Inter-Party Committee and gave assurances of his continued support to nurture democracy.
And as Inter-Party official, he have asked that we continue to be tolerant. Him as a leader, he will continue to do that on the basis of principles of democracy, rule of law, and good governance. And he have encouraged and applaud the important role of IPC in maintenance of peace and stability and tolerance across all party divides. And he said all the countries that are developed is as a result of their peaceful nature and democracy. And that all political parties should make good use of the IPC, that's what the President said, so that we will interact, we will dialogue, we will settle our differences where necessary.
According to Njai, President Barrow encouraged all political parties to contribute to the sustenance of the committee. Political parties established the IPC as an instrument of dialogue among political actors to promote a cohesive existence. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alusise.
Now, from that, the 23rd of August is the annual day for remembrance of the slave trade and its abolition. The day is especially significant for Africa, from where millions were shipped to forced labor in Europe and the Americas during the Atlantic slave trade. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi takes a look back at the abolition of one of the most heinous acts committed by humans against their fellow humans.
Remembrance of slavery recalls one of the most horrendous and inhumane crimes against humanity. It is more than 2 centuries since it was abolished, but nothing of slavery, including the atrocities associated with it and its legacy on Africa, can be forgotten. Records show that between 1500 to 1800, European traders bought and shipped Africans to work unpaid in the Americas and the Caribbean. Within that awful history, Gambia has its records. Hazum Sise is a Gambian historian.
Philip Cottin has estimated that between the 1650s and 1810, close to 300,000 people, departed, from James Island. as slaves. So that is a significant amount of people.
Commonly termed the transatlantic slave trade, it became the largest forced migration in history, during which over 2 million Africans reportedly lost their lives. The trade started in the middle of the 15th century when Portuguese ships sailed down the West African coast. They arrived in search for gold and spices, and in the process found an even more valuable commodity, human beings.
Apparently, you had Africans who also fought against the slave trade. Not only Queen Zinga, but you had this, Guy Mendoza, who Professor Navafe has well articulated his story in his new book, who went to the Vatican, in the 1680s to file a court injunction against the Catholic nations of, Portugal and Spain, so that the Vatican will order them to stop buying and selling human beings.
The continent then witnessed the scramble for slaves by European slave dealers. After hundreds of years of its perpetuation and humanitarian campaigns against it, the British Parliament abolished the trade in 1807. But leading up to the abolition, there was a growing local resistance to it in Africa, including in the Gambia.
Some rulers, in the River Gambia region, like the kings in Bara, the Nyomi Mansas, the Sonkos or the Manes or the Jammes, by the early 19th century, they had made it categorically clear that they were no longer interested in selling off their own people, because they were getting weak, because they realized that if I sell my own people as slaves, I will not have people to work the land, and I will not have people to defend my kingdom when any neighboring state attack me.
Historical accounts of the toll of slavery on the African continent record that roughly 12 to 15 million people were shipped by force from Africa to be used for labor in the Caribbean, North, Central, and South America. That number could be far greater, according to some historians. The 23rd of August is remembered as the International Day for the Remembrance of the Abolition of Slavery because on the night of 22nd to 23rd August 1791, men and women from Africa and sold into slavery in Saint-Domingue, now Haiti, a colony of France, revolted and obtained their freedom and independence. Led by Toussaint Louverture, it was the first successful mass slave revolt. This event became a turning point, which among other related events eventually led to the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade. Mahmoud Lamin, QTV News.
From that, at the launch of a $25 million fisheries climate resilience project on Wednesday, the Food and Agriculture Organization country representative Madam Mushibudi Rampidi applauded the Gambia government's commitment to safeguarding the economic importance of livelihoods that depend on fisheries and aquaculture sectors. And Sumane Sonyasi has more.
Approximately 168,000 Gambians in the fisheries and aquaculture sectors, which employ about 300,000 people, are set to benefit from this $25 million 6-year Green Climate Fund initiative, which seeks to support vulnerable fishing communities in building resilience to climate change and in diversifying livelihoods through, among other interventions, climate-proofing the sector, technology improvements, and enhance the fisheries and aquaculture value chains. At the launch ceremony, FAO country representative Ms. Mosibudi Rampedi commended government for their commitment and support to the sector, and went on to highlight the significance of this project, especially in addressing climate change-related challenges.
We anticipate that we can only measure the success of the project if we achieve the following outcomes. If we get increased resilience and enhanced livelihoods, better health and well-being, food and water security, we will regard this as a success.
The Minister of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, Musa Drame, says the intervention will improve livelihoods through investment in small-scale fisheries infrastructure, habitat restoration and diversification. He also reiterated government's commitment to ensuring the successful implementation of the project and enjoined stakeholders in the sector to take ownership of the project.
The fisheries sector has and continues to play an important role in improving livelihoods of our people through the provision of affordable and essential animal protein, direct and indirect employment as well as significantly contributing to foreign exchange earnings of the country.
Sidi Keita, Gambia's Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, who is also the national designated authority of the Green Climate Fund, and Dauda Sen, Secretary General of the National Association of Artisanal Fisheries Association, emphasized the project's role in mitigating climate impacts and its significance to addressing national climate challenges. They also gave assurances of their respective institutions' support for the project.
We have seen the amount of devastation that the fishing communities have been going through due to soil intrusion, acidity, and the erosion of the coastline. It only hastens our attention when we visit the traditional fishing sites of Tendava, Tankula, and other fishing ports in this country, where we have seen communities devastated by the impact of climate change.
It sustains hundreds of millions of people who depend on it for livelihood. It creates employment, improves nutritional intake, food and income, to name a few. But to be frank, the oceans or the sea is in danger. Overfishing, pollution, habitat destruction, unsustainable coastal development, increased mining along the coast.
The project presents climate-resilient measures for aquaculture production, mangrove restoration and investment in infrastructure for landing sites for improved livelihoods. The Gambia's fisheries sector remains a key contributor to the economy, and vulnerable households and rural communities depend on fish for their animal protein intake. Answana Isonyasi for KTV News.
Now looking forward to the changes that project will bring. Now from that story by Ansumana Isonyasi, we'll go for a short commercial break, and when we come back we have some more local and international news stories. To stay with us.
In today's fast-paced digital world, staying ahead of the competition requires the latest technologies and skills. That's where QIT comes in. Our programs include Certificate in IT, Diploma and Advanced Diploma in Microsoft Office Applications, Cisco A+, Graphics Design, Database Administration, Systems Administration, HRM, Business Management, and Marketing. We have a range of internationally certified online courses. Our special weekend classes provide the flexibility you need as a working professional. We offer specialized IT training to corporate institutions at our state-of-the-art conference room or at a location of your choice. Our affordable facilities are also available for rental with free and fast internet. Call us at 3100918 or 3800918 to start your journey today. QIT, turning your potential into credentials.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. "5G Speed is like having the juggler in your pocket. With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G Speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I'm Jenna Basonko. Now, officials and researchers working on the Comprehensive Health Education Program under the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education held a day-long health report dissemination session with stakeholders such as journalists and health education advocates on Tuesday. And Smane Sonyasi again.
This engagement with stakeholders is to share findings of extensive research conducted in 43 schools and 28 communities on comprehensive health education. In the early 90s, population and family life education was taught as a subject in Gambian schools. However, over time, the subject seemed was phased out. With a growing concern about the limited knowledge of health education amongst young people, authorities have decided to revive health education in schools. Hence, this 5-year nationwide research. Michael Hamadi Seka of the Curriculum Research Evaluation and Development Directorate at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education underscores the importance of research and the need for more health education, especially in schools.
The research findings has exposed a lot. And that's what the principal investigator, as well as the analyst, has tried to do, to fill those gaps. Because in research, you must emerge with recommendations, some findings. What are the gaps? So that's what was found out is now what we are going to implement into the school system.
Vivian Anna Grant, principal investigator with the Comprehensive Health Education Program, and Dr. Thomas Senghor, a senior researcher and lecturer at the University of the Gambia, shared research findings with stakeholders, including the challenges affecting the implementation and institutionalization of relevant school and community-based programs to strengthen access to quality comprehensive health education, information and services for both in and out of school adolescents.
We also reached out to the curriculum developers, we reached out to the CSOs and NGOs, we reached out also to Ministry of Health workers, because this project is a multi-stakeholder project, it's not only one project. Though it is being implemented by MOPSI, but it involves different ministries as well as CSOs and NGOs.
We had a focus group discussion and a key informant interview. And for the out-of-school adolescents, we conducted focus group discussions for those. And for the NGOs, CSOs, and the others, we conducted key informant interviews. So these are individuals that we needed specific information from.
The research revealed, among other things, that comprehensive health education activity outside of school, particularly for the parents or community or youth centers, is very low. These are appropriate channels to help increase adolescent knowledge and attitude on sexual and reproductive health, SRH issues, and therefore need to be utilized. For instance, having youth-friendly SRH program and using the peer health education clubs in the school. Teachers also expressed the need for more training on SRH as well as teaching materials and strategy to aid in the teaching of comprehensive health education in schools. Support in form of in-service training teaching aids such as videos, charts and demonstrations should be provided to aid teaching and student understanding. Ansmane Sonyasi for QTV News.
From that story by Ansmane Sonyasi on comprehensive health education, now let's take a look at news beyond our borders. Now, yesterday, the 22nd of August, was the International Day for Victims of Acts of Violence based on religion or belief, which highlight the significance of providing victims and their families with appropriate support and legal assistance. Lena Iigwinyiba has more.
Around the globe, incidents of intolerance and violence rooted in religion or belief continue to plague individuals, especially those from religious minorities. These events, often criminal in nature, and sometimes having international dimensions, are increasing in number and intensity. As a response, the UN General Assembly designated August 22nd as a day to strongly denounce violence and terrorism aimed at individuals, particularly religious minorities, in the name of faith. Freedom of religion or belief, along with freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and association, are interconnected and mutually reinforcing rights. These principles, embodied in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, play a vital role in combating intolerance and discrimination based on religion or belief. On this occasion, the International Religious Freedom of Belief Alliance issued a statement which emphasizes the ongoing commitment to secure the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion for all individuals regardless of their faith or belief system. In Myanmar, the Rohingya crisis started in 1982 when the country passed a citizenship law that denied Rohingya Muslims nationality and left them stateless. This law has led to the Rohingya experiencing violence and the denial of the rights granted to Myanmar's other citizens. This action prompted the Gambia to institute proceedings at the International Court of Justice against Myanmar in 2019. Alleging that Myanmar's action against the Rohingya population effectively amounted to genocide. In the Gambia, Islam, Christianity, and other religions coexist. Over time, the country has engaged in 3 dimensions of peace building: prevention of violence, conflict management, and conflict transformation. Playing a pivotal role since 2017, faith-based organizations led by the Supreme Islamic Council and the Christian Council have fostered peace and stability through interreligious dialogue and calls for reconciliation in their weekly sermons. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Gwenyiba.
Also in international news, Zimbabweans head to the polls on Wednesday to elect their president and National Assembly members against rising tensions due to inflation, a weakening public health system and high unemployment. Julden Jaya looks at how the elections has been unfolding and she now reports.
The elections are the second since the removal of a long-time president, Robert Mugabe, in the coup in 2017. The incumbent president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, faces more than 10 challenges, including Nelson Chamisa of the main opposition Citizens Coalition for Change. In the 2018 election, Mr. Mnangagwa won in the first round with 51% of the vote. Mr. Chamisa, who came second with 45%, unsuccessfully challenged the result in court. Mr. Chamisa hopes to break the governing ZANU-PF party's 43-year hold on power. Zimbabweans will also elect 210 national lawmakers and over 1,900 local government and municipal leaders. This year's election, as with almost all the post-independence elections in the country, has been marked by irregularities. For instance, internet access has been restricted ahead of the elections, likely making it difficult for the citizens to stay informed. Also, there were delays in getting the council ballots to some parts of the stations. After casting his vote, President Mnangagwa told reporters that there was quite a lot of publicity around the election and he thinks people, even the younger generation, are interested in casting their vote. The Southern African nation of 15 million people has vast mineral resources, but analysts have long alleged that widespread corruption and mismanagement have gutted much of the country's potential. The economic crisis is one of the key concerns for voters, as the country has one of the world's highest rates of inflation, which has led to prices of basic goods increasing at a rate many struggle to keep up with. Mnangagwa, who was a close ally of Mugabe and served as vice president before they fell out before the 2017 coup, has sought to portray himself as a reformer, but many accused him of being even more repressive than the man he helped to remove from power. Zimbabwe has been under United States and European Union sanctions for the past 2 decades over allegations of human rights abuses, charges denied by the governing party. In recent years, Mnangagwa has repeated much of Mugabe's rhetoric against the West, accusing it of seeking to remove his government. Ahead of the elections, observers from the EU and the US have come under criticism from officials and state-run media for allegedly being biased against the governing party. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission said it will take 5 days to announce the official results, although preliminary results are expected sooner. For QTV News, I am Julde Jai.
Now, good luck to Zimbabweans as they head to the polls. Now, before we end this news bulletin, let's recap our main headlines. Members of the Inter-Party Committee paid a courtesy visit on Tuesday to President Barrow, who is also the Secretary General of the National People's Party. Today, the 23rd of August, is the annual day for the remembrance of slave trade and its abolition. Our $25 million Fisheries Climate Resilience Project was launched on Wednesday by the FAO country representative, Mushibudi Rampidi. Officials and researchers working on the MOPSI Comprehensive Health Education Program held a day-long health report dissemination session with stakeholders on Tuesday. In international news, Tuesday was the International Day to remember victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief, which is observed annually on the 22nd of August. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.